Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today we're going to be talking about how to stop taking everything so personally. Let's get started. I'm going to be giving you advice on how to not overreact, how to remain composed, and how to generally stop taking everything so personally. This is going to be relevant for everybody in any situations, to be honest with you, but especially nowadays, I'm guessing. We're not going to be talking about cases when people severely disagree on politics and stuff like that. However, I do believe this advice is still going to be very solid and helpful in those situations too. So let's get started. Basically, I want to start this conversation with talking about how to prevent overreacting, because that's a big one. Overreacting can make you feel much worse in the future, kind of going forward. When you think back to the situation that happened, it can really make your self-esteem worse and your self-image not quite so pleasant. So in order to prevent reacting in a way that you would not make you feel proud of yourself, let's talk about basically the steps to take to not overreact to anything, no matter what people say. Okay, so it's extremely important that before you react in any way, before you respond, you take a pause, you take a breather, okay? You breathe, you pause, you maybe go on a little walk if that's possible, you step outside if that's a possibility, but you maybe count to 10. Create some kind of it's like a first aid kind of a toolbox. All of this is basically a toolbox, right? In order to help yourself remain composed. Before you respond, you pause, you count to 10, you take a deep breath, preferably a few, and only then you proceed to respond, okay? It is extremely important that you separate facts from feelings. So listen, not everybody's out there to get you. Some people are indeed, some people are just really careless and they just say whatever comes to their mind, but it is important that you practice separating facts from feelings. So while you are pausing, while you're breathing and counting, right, and doing all those things, separate facts from feelings. Understand what was actually said. Is any of that the truth? Are there any facts? What are the facts? And also recognize how you're feeling. Separate those things, okay? They're not one and the same. If someone is being overly emotional, if someone is being in their feelings, also take that into consideration. Doesn't mean you need to be excusing people's poor behavior, not at all, but do separate them and just keep that in mind, okay? Now, it's also important, especially if you're not feeling very stable at that moment, if you were being triggered, right? It is important that you self-soothe with affirmations like I'm safe, I'm calm, everything's okay, I'm going to handle this well, I'm going to find a way to respond correctly without upsetting myself even further, so on and so forth. But just remember the I am safe affirmation. You can just repeat it to yourself. But it is important that you practice that in moments of distress, okay? Now, you can always ask for clarifications. Remember to ask for clarifications in order to not escalate the conflict if you feel like there might be a misunderstanding, okay? If someone is purposely trying to upset or embarrass you, asking for clarifications can actually de-escalate the situation, because the person is just going to be looking a little bit silly when you're trying to, explain their stupid, inappropriate joke or their weird comment, or if they ask you something inappropriate, once again, they will have to elaborate. So that will help you to de-escalate the tension. Now, you're going to be practicing to respond calmly. Start doing this today. After you paused and you breathed, after you counted, after you did all those things, it's really important that you start practicing to respond calmly, right? So if you had issues in the past by overreacting, by starting yelling at someone, starting, being very aggressive at someone, right? Appropriately or not, it's important for your self-preservation, for your own mental health, and especially if it's a public situation or an event, that you start practicing, you just respond calmly. Be a bit more mindful. Do not act the way you always acted in the past previously, especially if it did not bring you positive results, as a result of that. So try to ground yourself and become more mindful in the moment and respond calmly, respond differently than you did in the past. Finally, it is important that you consider other people's perspective, okay? We talk a lot about like our mental health here, and like it's, all about us basically most of the times. However, it is still important that you consider other people's perspective. Again, like I said before, not everybody is out there to get you. Sometimes people just say things without thinking. Sometimes they just say something while they're thinking about something else entirely. Please understand that every person has a whole entire world in their own minds. They have their issues, they have their problems that they're dealing with every single day. Everybody's fighting their own battles inside their own heads that you're not even aware of. So please be more kind and gentle than you might have been in the past, and try to consider other people's feelings and experiences, and try to put yourself in their shoes, basically. It won't necessarily help, but it might help to see the situation differently and understand that maybe they were not trying to upset you and hurt you, even though it might have come off disrespectfully a little bit or something like that. By the way, I don't think it's an excuse necessarily, always, but it just might help you understand another person a little bit better. Also, if they are still being disrespectful, doesn't mean that you should tolerate that. Just a little reminder. Yes, I will be talking about boundaries, by the way. How do we not talk about boundaries? Okay, now let's talk about general practices for you to practice in other times, not necessarily in situations when you have to like respond straight away, which is what we talked about right now, but general things for you to consider and to practice to avoid, once again, being overreactive and taking things personally. Okay. Do shadow work. I will attach a link to my shadow work video in the description box. Please check it out. Start getting into shadow work. Do some shadow work. I'm not necessarily recommending getting into it during the holiday season, but if you get a free day and it's not like a day when you're going to be celebrating anything, it's still a good practice to sit down with yourself with your own thoughts, with a journal, just a piece of paper or something like that, and do some shadow work. Understand your triggers, understand your shadows. In that video, I'll go into detail about all these things, so do check it out so we don't linger too much on this topic here. Challenge your negative self-talk and your negative thoughts whenever they occur. Just challenge them, just humor yourself. Come up with something to respond to the negative thought or to a negative self-talk. Just say, no, actually, I am not stupid. I am actually not fat. I'm actually not stupid. I'm not horrible. I'm not ugly. I'm none of those things. I'm actually a great person. I'm actually kind and wonderful. If you start speaking to yourself negatively and like attacking yourself like you used to do in the past, challenge that negative self-talk. And once again, even thoughts as well. Basically, affirmations can help with that tremendously. You can verbalize that. You can just say it inside your own head. You can journal it out. I always talk about journaling for a reason, because it is helpful and it's a universal self-therapy tool. Now, set clear boundaries. I promised, obviously. Self-clear boundaries. The boundaries that you set are not for other people. The boundaries are for you. Okay? The boundaries are there to protect you. Understand which line people should not be crossing. Find a way, think about it before it happens in real life. How you will respond to people if they cross your boundary. How will you respond? How will you act? If the situation escalates, if it's not too bad, if you understand that someone didn't have bad intentions but they still crossed the line, how will you respond to that? Think about that before it happens, so that in the moment when it actually happens, if it does, you know exactly how to act and you do not spiral, you don't lose your mind, don't take it super personally, get really upset and triggered. Come up with an action plan beforehand and try to be calm and still respectful as much as possible, not to escalate situation further. That's my general advice. but you do as you see fit. And another thing, focus on what you can control in any given moment and situation. Focus on what you can control, and all the other things that you cannot control, just leave them behind, because there is nothing you can do about that. Become extremely, extremely mindful and present in this very moment. Okay, focus on what is happening right now. You can ground yourself by doing grounding exercises, like focusing what you can see, what you can feel, what you can smell, what's the temperature in the room, how you're feeling in your body, what you can taste in the moment, what you can hear in the moment. All of those things, engage your senses to ground yourself and become very, very present in this very moment. And focus only on the things that you can control. It's very important. Finally, once again, as a reminder, because this is not something that you can say too many times, please understand that people are mirrors, okay? I know that I said in this video that like not everybody's out there to get you, because that is true. That is just the objective truth. Not everybody is out there to hurt you. Sometimes people say hurtful things because they don't know any better. They just don't know any better. Maybe because they're used to talking like this. Maybe they're used to other people talking like this to them, and that is not terribly offensive to them. This happened to me many times when people said something very strange and weird, and I learned to not take it super personally, because I understand that this is normal for them. It's still not normal for me, and I do set my boundaries that it's not okay to do this with me, but I'm not personally offended because it's not a personal attack. Sometimes people act the way that they do because that is what they're used to. This is their reality. It's okay if that reality is not yours. You don't have to accept that. You also don't have to be rude and attack people, in every situation. It's just to learn to be more calm, more present, and understand that like we are all mirrors of each other. We all sometimes trigger each other's triggers and painful points, unhealed moments, shadows, such and such. Not everybody's doing shadow work. Everybody should be doing shadow work. Realistically, honestly, that would help a whole lot. Everybody, really. But yes, in situations when people are actually being, hurtful and offensive, please understand that most of the times, or honestly, all the times, when people attack you completely unprovoked, just being mean, when they are being triggered by something they're seeing in you or hearing something you say that is not offensive, right? And they start overreacting to that, and just start making snarky comments, behaving weirdly, saying something unpleasant to you with an intention to kind of hurt you, right? Please understand that this is not about you, this is about them. I talk about this in more detail in the shadow work video. Please check it out once again. If you have any questions, ask in the comment section down below, obviously, as always. But please understand that we are all mirrors. People project so incredibly much. They really, really do. Once you start doing shadow work regularly and just genuinely start noticing your own behaviors, your own thought patterns, and try to like recognize them and change them, and change your own behavior and your own patterns, right? To be happier, healthier, to just feel better. You see how many people do not do the work, I'm not blaming them or shaming them for that, because people just do not have resources for that. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the understanding. And that's okay. That's okay. That's the reality. We have to accept that. Doesn't mean you need to accept that and just kind of, continue the way you were always doing the things that you were doing. Because we do want to be better, ultimately. But yes, it is most definitely not about you. It is about them, and that is okay. Please learn to set boundaries. Please learn to leave situations when you're being disrespected consistently. You do not have to be in the rooms when you are being consistently disrespected. Please remember that as well. You do not have to learn 500 different techniques to defend yourself kindly and gently from the people who consistently choose to being rude to you, to misunderstanding you, to ignoring you, to bombarding you with a bunch of inappropriate questions. Any situation like that at all, please understand that you have free will, you have a choice, and leaving is also a choice. We do not have to tolerate disrespect when people just don't get the message over and over and over again. All right? Happy holidays. I'm going to be making more videos on topics that have to do more with the holidays soon as the season is approaching. So I am really looking forward to them. I hope you are too. The biggest gift to me would be you subscribing to my channel, you sharing my videos and liking them, and leaving comments, of course. So yes, thank you very much, you guys, for watching this video. If you have any questions, if you have any topic suggestions, if there's anything you would want me to talk about more on this channel, please let me know in the comments below. Like this video, share it with your friends, with your loved ones, with anybody who you think would benefit from watching it. Leave me a comment and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, you guys. I will see you in the next one.